Hello and a very good morning. You're watching the breakfast news on Rajya Sabha television this Saturday morning with me, Frank Pereira. Here are the headlines. Coup attempt underway by group of army in Turkey. They say a peace council is now in charge of country and martial law is in place. President Erdogan says those responsible will be punished. PM claims situation under control. Nice attacker identified as 31-year-old French-Tunisian man. French President Hollande to chair crisis talks with cabinet after announcing 3 days of national mourning. French attack resonates at Assam summit in Mongolia. Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari calls for speedy action against terrorists. Ulaanbaatar declaration to be signed today. Governor refuses more time to Arunachal Chief Minister Nabam Tuki for floor tests, asked to prove majority by today. And flood situation worsens in Assam. Over 1.74 lakh people are reeling under flood in 244 villages. Rain-related deaths in the country so far cross 50. Well, let's begin with our top focus on the bulletin this morning. A coup attempt is underway by a group of the army in Turkey. Reports say that the army has taken over key installations in the country and that 2 bombs have hit the Turkish parliament. 17 police officers are also reported to have been killed so far. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan returned to Istanbul and addressed the media. He said those responsible will be punished. Visuals coming in from Ankara show private television channel studios being taken over by the army group. Protests have also broken out in Turkey against the army, with hundreds of people taking to the streets.
Bu bambaşka bir felakettir ve dünya medyasında da bazı ülkemizin bu büyümesini, gelişmesini hazmedemeyenlerin kalkıp asker Türkiye'de duruma el koydu. Nereye el koydu? Askerin içinde bunlar bir grup azınlık.
A coup attempt underway by a group of the army in Turkey. A news anchor on television network announcing that a peace council has been established and it now runs the country. The statement also saying there was curfew and martial law in the country.
Hiçbir ayrım yapılmaksızın tüm vatandaşlarımızın ifade özgürlüğü, mülkiyet hakkı, evrensel temel hak ve hürriyeti Yurtta Sulh Konseyi'nin teminatı altındadır.
President Recep Tayyip Erdogan called the attempted coup an uprising by a minority.
Girmek suretiyle de tüm şehirlerimizde şu anda bir huzursuzluğun zeminini oluşturmuşlardır. Ve bu bir milli iradeye yönelik ayaklanma hareketidir. Ve milli iradeye yönelik bu ayaklanma hareketine karşı tabii ki
A loud explosion was heard in the capital, Ankara. Fighter jets buzzed overhead. Gunfire erupted outside military headquarters and vehicles blocked 2 major bridges in Istanbul. Reports also say there were 2 explosions at the parliament building in Ankara. The Turkish Prime Minister, however, saying the situation is largely under control and a no-fly zone was declared over Ankara. The Prime Minister urging people to take to the streets to protest against the army, hundreds answering that call. Amateur video also showing Turkish soldiers detained by the police. Some reports say some top army officials are said to be detained. The US and Russia reacting to the coup attempt, hoping for stability.
We've heard the reports that others have heard. I don't have any details at this point in time. I hope there will be stability and peace and continuity within Turkey.
In neighboring Syria, hundreds of people took to the streets of Damascus and celebratory gunfire erupted following the coup attempt. President Tayyip Erdogan is one of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's main regional opponent. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Joining me on the phone line right now is the diplomatic editor of The Hindu, Suhasini Haider. Good morning, Suhasini, and thank you for joining us on the program. You know, as far as what's happening in Turkey, it's very unclear right now because there are contradicting reports really coming in from Turkey where the President Erdogan and Prime Minister Yildirim have said that the situation is under control, but state TV reporting that a group of the army really is in control in Turkey.
That's right. And, you know, we are going to see all of these reports play out until the situation is clear. I think one of the key indicators that perhaps President Erdogan has been able to push back this coup was the fact that he landed back in Istanbul, because he was, of course, on the Aegean coast of Marmara, where he claims the jets tried to target him there, that his hotel in that coastal city had been bombed. And then he flew into Istanbul, many speculating that he would not have flown to Istanbul had he not known that his return would be secured. It has been secured, it would seem, by the Turkish population that came out on the streets. We've seen pictures of people trying to stop tanks, climbing over tanks and stopping the military in its tracks, if you like. We're also aware that not every part of the military is a part of the coup, and it remains to be seen really what the agenda of the coup was. For the moment, it would seem that the Turkish president, as well as his government, have the support of the international community. Certainly, both the US and the EU have put out statements in support of him. Remember, this is particularly sensitive because there's the Incirlik base right there. NATO has planes over there in Turkey, and any kind of instability inside Turkey is going to have a huge impact in the entire region.
Indeed, instability in Turkey is going to have a major impact in the region itself. But any details, Suhasini, emerging as to who probably is leading the coup there and you know, what the agenda really was?
You know, Frank, it would be difficult at this point to make a clear understanding of exactly who is behind the coup. Because as you know, when a coup is in place, a lot of channels of information are cut off. We know that Turkey has been through several very important events in the last few months. And as a result, President Erdogan has taken several steps. For many years, he has been seen as an Islamist force, somebody who has been backing groups that are fighting President Assad in nearby Syria. Also, as a country where ISIS recruits have traveled through, have received transit passage. But in the last year, especially after Turkey faced terror attacks, IS-inspired terror attacks, including the recent bombing at the airport, we've also seen a crackdown by President Erdogan on many of these Islamist groups inside Turkey. Perhaps many were taken by surprise last week when he also agreed to restart ties with Syria. So it really remains to be seen what exactly this group was reacting to. Many think it was an anti-Islamist coup, and certainly that's why many American politicians have reacted the way they have. But it really has to play out in the next few hours.
All right, Suhasini Haider, thank you so much for joining us there with those details and putting things into perspective for us. Moving on now to the other big international focus. France has identified the Nice attacker as a 31-year-old French-Tunisian man. Now, he drove a truck at high speed into a crowd at Bastille Day celebrations, killing at least 84 people, including several children. France has declared a 3-day mourning and the state of emergency has been extended by 3 months. Here's more.
France has declared 3 days of national mourning after at least 84 people were mowed down by a truck while watching a Bastille Day fireworks display in Nice. The Eiffel Tower lit up with colors of the French flag in tribute to the victims of the attack. The terror attack targeted one of the most popular stretches of the beachfront in Nice. The driver carried onwards several hundred yards, concluding it by firing bullets into the panic-stricken people as they desperately tried to escape. Police managed to shoot him dead, but not before a horrific death toll that incurred many children, some even strollers and prams. More than 100 people were injured. Heartbroken survivors describe the moment as very painful.
Un camion est arrivé, il a foncé sur tout le monde. Sur tout le monde. Pas de sécurité. Les pompiers, ils ont mis 25 minutes de lumière à arriver.
Counter-terrorist investigations identified the driver as a 31-year-old Franco-Tunisian born in Tunisia. The official said weapons and grenades were found inside 25-ton unmarked truck.
Non, il a bénéficié de complicité et c'est au procureur de la République qu'il appartient de donner les éléments de l'enquête en fonction de ce qui aura pu être définitivement établi pour éviter que des rumeurs, de fausses informations.
In a televised address early Friday morning, French President François Hollande said terroristic character of the attack cannot be denied.
Victimes, dont plusieurs enfants, et une vingtaine de blessés en urgence absolue. Cette attaque, dont le caractère terroriste ne peut être nié, est encore une fois d'une violence absolue.
Hollande also announced that France will ramp up its military efforts in Syria and Iraq, that the country's state of emergency will be extended by 3 months. Indian leaders also condemned the attack. In a series of tweets posted on Twitter, President Pranab Mukherjee offered his condolences over the loss of life. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also took to Twitter to condemn the attack. US President Barack Obama vowed to stand with France in its fight against terrorism.
I spoke to President Hollande earlier today, and in addition to conveying deep condolences, I reminded him that France is America's oldest ally and one of our strongest. We owe our freedom to each other. Americans and French have stood together for 2 centuries, and I told President Hollande that we will stand united now.
The attack marks the 3rd time France has endured gruesome carnage on its own soil in the past year and a half. It coincides with the time when reports are suggesting that the terrorist outfit Islamic State is also losing many key areas held by it. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, the terror attack in Nice also resonated at the 11th Assam summit being held in Mongolia. Now, it's happening in the capital of Ulaanbaatar. Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari called for speedy action against the terrorists on the first day of the summit. Vice President also met with the top leadership of Mongolia as well as other member countries of Assam. Today, at the closing ceremony, the Ulaanbaatar Declaration will be signed. Here's more.
Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari held talks with the Mongolian president and other top leadership on a host of bilateral issues on the sidelines of the 11th Assam summit on Friday. During meetings with the president and the top leadership, the issue of the $1 billion line of credit offered to Mongolia by India was also discussed.
Foreign Minister of Mongolia had visited earlier this year and signed an umbrella agreement. And now we wait for concrete proposals from the government of Mongolia. And now that there is a newly elected government, the leadership told us that yes, once the government settles down, they will come up with concrete proposals about what they would like to use this particular line of credit to finance. There was an interest shown in information technology.
Vice President Ansari also held talks with a host of Asian leaders, including Prime Ministers of Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam and Bangladesh. He also exchanged pleasantries with Pakistan Foreign Affairs Advisor Sartaj Aziz. The Vice President held bilateral meetings with the Bulgarian President, during which the latter invited him to visit his country to boost trade ties.
In addition to that, they discussed the immense potential, the untapped potential in doing business. The President of Bulgaria specifically mentioned that given India's growth rates and the potential that, Bulgaria, he said, was an important destination for. It's a peaceful country and has a great regard for India. I would definitely want to do more business with India.
With the theme of Assam, this year being 20 years of Assam, Partnership for the Future through Connectivity, Vice President Ansari focused on connectivity between India and Europe to build mutually beneficial partnerships. The Vice President also called for protection of the seas and oceans in accordance with international conventions. Without naming China and its disputed claims in the South China Sea, he called for all parties to resolve disputes peacefully. On the first day of the 11th Asia-Europe Meeting Summit on Friday, top leaders from 49 nations observed a minute's silence following the deadly truck attack in the French city of Nice that killed 84 people. At the plenary session, Vice President Mohammed Hamid Ansari called for speedy action against the perpetrators, organizers, financiers and sponsors of terror. Aishwarya Kapoor's report from Ulaanbaatar for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, joining me on the phone line right now from Mongolia is our correspondent Aishwarya Kapoor. Aishwarya, as far as the Assam summit is concerned, it certainly seems like what happened in France had a major bearing there. Several leaders, of course, even the Vice President of India, condemning and denouncing the attack in Mongolia.
Absolutely. In fact, the terrorism remained the focus here at the summit. In the morning, as the summit started, the news of the attack in France happened. That poured in, and that led to a somber environment as the summit started. And there was this 2 minutes of silence that was observed. And there is, apart from the Ulaanbaatar declaration that has been adopted at the summit, there is a separate terrorism declaration that has also been adopted in this summit, which basically talks about how the continents of Asia and Europe can come together and fight terrorism together, because this is one major challenge that both the continents are facing. So apart from the Ulaanbaatar declaration that has been adopted, there is a separate terrorism declaration.
Well, we see to have lost the line there with our correspondent, but we'll get back to her during the course of the day to get the latest from them. Moving on now, of course, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will chair the 11th meeting of the Interstate Council. The Prime Minister, along with 17 union ministers, will meet chief ministers of all states for the first time on a single platform. The meeting has been convened after a gap of 10 years. Members of the Interstate Council consist of chief ministers of all states, chief ministers of union territories having a legislative assembly, 6 union ministers and 11 union cabinet ministers or ministers of state as permanent invitees. The meeting will deliberate on issues of internal security, economic and social planning and interstate relations, among other issues. Issues that will figure in the conference include recommendations of the Panchi Commission on Center-State Relations, use of Aadhaar as an identifier and use of direct benefit transfer for providing subsidies, among others. More news from the country now. Arunachal Pradesh Chief Minister Nabam Tuki has been asked by the governor to prove his majority on the floor of the House by today. Governor Tatgata Roy dismissed the request by Tuki for more time. The floor test is reportedly scheduled to be held at 2 p.m. today. Here are more details.
Arunachal Pradesh is witnessing another round of political turmoil. It all started with Chief Minister Nabam Tuki on Friday stating that he needed 10 days to prove his majority.
To give at least 10 days time to prove my majority in the August House. Because the short notice, humanly it was not possible to organize even in the secretariat, what is called parliamentary secretariat, and the arrangement had to be made in the assembly also.
Governor Tathagat Roy refused Tuki's request and insisted that the floor test will go on as scheduled on Saturday. He also emphasized that a sense of security must prevail among the people. Assembly Speaker Nabam Rabia, however, said it wouldn't be possible to convene an assembly session at such a short notice.
Within our limited resources, whatever has to be done, we will try to do our best. My difficulty is in convening the assembly without issuing summons. Now I think if the governor insists on holding the session tomorrow, we will definitely discharge our the order. Will try to honor the order of the. So, sir, you're confident that
Tuki, who met the governor on Friday, referred to Sarkaria Commission recommendations that say that a reasonable time of 30 days need to be given for a floor test, unless there is an urgent business to be transacted. Kalikapul, who lost his chief ministership in the wake of Wednesday's Supreme Court judgment, has already claimed that majority of the legislators were still with him.
Out of 58 assembly, 43 एमएलए कालिको पुल साहब के साथ है और रिमेनिंग जो 15 तुकी साहब के साथ है। तो इसका जब पोलर टेस्ट होगा तो दिखा जाएगा।
According to Tuki, all legislators who sided with Kalikopul are technically Congress members and that he could approach them. Pul has, however, expressed fears that granting more time for the floor test could encourage horse trading.
हॉर्स ट्रेडिंग का बहुत कोशिश किया, यहाँ भी आया, पूरा घुमा है, पूरा मोबाइल में है, व्हाट्सएप में है, पूरा घूम रहा है वो लोग। मिनिस्टर ऑफर कर रहा है और भी ऑफर कर रहा है, बहुत चीज़ पैसा ऑफर कर रहा है।
Tuki was unseated as chief minister in January after rebellion in the Congress-led government. The breakaway faction led by Kalikopul formed the government with support from the BJP. But on Wednesday, the Supreme Court resorted Tuki's government, quashing all decisions made by the governor. That has left the Congress under Tuki with an uphill task of proving its majority, since currently it has only 15 members in the 60-member assembly. The present strength of the assembly is 58 after 2 resignations. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, it's time for a short break now, but news and updates will continue on the other side. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Indian pharma has done excellent in generic medicine. We are the number 3 in the world market. Now the pharma industry is entering into a biopharma. That is a new trend of pharmaceutical industry.
Watch Eureka with Dr. Kiran Kalia, Director, Naipur, Ahmedabad, only on Rajya Sabha TV.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, India has reacted strongly to Pakistan's provocative attempt to meddle in Kashmir's affairs. In a sternly worded statement, the External Affairs Ministry criticized the meeting of the Pakistani cabinet on the situation in Kashmir. Meanwhile, 37 people have died in the valley following unrest after Hizbul militant Burhan Wani's killing. Here's more.
India completely and unequivocally rejects in entirety the decisions adopted by the cabinet of Pakistan on the situation in Jammu and Kashmir. We are dismayed at the continued attempts by Pakistan to interfere in our internal matters, where we reiterate Pakistan or any other external party has no locus standi. Continued glorification of terrorists belonging to proscribed terrorist organizations makes it amply clear where Pakistan's sympathies continue to lie.
India coming down hard on Pakistan for trying to meddle in its internal affairs. On a day when Pakistani cabinet held a meeting on Kashmir and decided to protest against the unrest in the state by observing July 19th as what it called a black day. Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif also declared slain Hizbul militant commander Burhan Wani as a martyr. The External Affairs Ministry once again called its bluff on the blatantly provocative action.
The self-serving actions by Pakistan in the last few days to derive political mileage out of the recent developments in Jammu and Kashmir follow planned infiltration and terrorism aimed at India from across the line of control and the international boundary. The attempts in Pakistan by various players to ingratiate themselves to the people of Jammu and Kashmir in the run-up to the so-called elections in territories under Pakistan's illegal occupation will not succeed.
The US also expressed concern at the situation and asked Pakistan to take action against terror groups operating from its soil. Earlier in the day, Nawaz Sharif's Foreign Affairs Minister Sartaj Aziz also raised the Kashmir issue at the Asia-Europe meeting summit in Mongolia and said that the global causes of conflicts need to be addressed. 2 people were killed and 23 others, including 9 security men, were injured in a fresh violence in Kashmir on Friday, which saw mobs defying curfew in many parts to indulge in stone pelting. A police station in South Kashmir was also attacked with grenades and firing by suspected militants from amidst the crowd. The Amarnath Yatra continued to be suspended for the second consecutive day, with no pilgrims being allowed from Jammu to move towards the valley. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, moving on now, petrol prices have been reduced by 2 rupees 25 paise per litre, while the prices of diesel were slashed by 42 paise per litre. This is the second reduction in rates this month. A litre of petrol in Delhi will now cost 62.51 rupees as compared to 64.76 rupees per litre currently, while diesel will cost 54.28 per litre as against 54.70 currently. Earlier on the 1st of July, petrol prices were cut by 89 paise a litre and diesel by 49 paise a litre, the first decrease in rates in 2 months. Prior to the reduction this month, rates had been hiked on 4 occasions since May 1st. Petrol prices in the 4 hikes had been raised by 4 rupees 52 paise a litre and diesel by 7 rupees 72 paise a litre.
बहुत अच्छी बात है, पेट्रोल के प्राइसेस कम हुए। एक्चुअली वर्ल्ड प्राइसेस में तो क्रूड में काफ़ी गिरावट आई है। गवर्नमेंट को भी यही सोचना चाहिए, जो उतने टैक्सेस एंड लिवाइज लगाते हैं, ये अगर थोड़ी और वो कम कर सकें, क्योंकि जब पेट्रोल के प्राइसेस और कम थे तो उन्होंने ये टैक्सेस बढ़ाए थे। अब अगर और फर्दर अगर कम कर सकें तो कॉमन मैन के लिए काफ़ी सुविधा रहेगा।
ग्लोबल क्रूड ऑयल के प्राइसेस जो है कम हुए हैं, तो उस हिसाब से हमें वो प्राइसेस कम होते हुए दिखाई नहीं दिए, बट इट इज़ बेटर। पहले ये अराउंड 60 रुपीज़ के आसपास आ गया था, वापस फिर ये 70 के आसपास आके अब नाउ इट इज़ आई थिंक अगेन इट हैज़ कम टू 64 एंड इट इज़ गुड एंड इट इज़ अ काइंड ऑफ रिलीफ फॉर द कॉमन मैन।
बहुत अच्छा हुआ है, पेट्रोल कम हुआ है, डीजल कम हुआ है। मुझे लगता है, उम्मीद है कि ऐसा ही होना चाहिए, फ्यूचर में कम ही होता जाना चाहिए।
And the flood situation in Assam worsened on Friday with nearly 1.75 lakh people suffering across 6 districts of the state. Rain-related incidents have claimed over 50 lives in 3 flood-hit states since the onset of monsoon. According to Assam State Disaster Management Authority, over 1.75 lakh people are still reeling under floods in 244 villages across Lakhimpur, Golaghat, Moregaon, Jorhat, Dhemaji and Bishwanath districts. The Brahmaputra is flowing above the danger mark. Authorities are operating 19 relief camps in 2 districts where 3,811 people are taking shelter. Over 1.55 lakh hectares of crop have been damaged so far in the state. Now, at least 34 people have lost their lives and several houses damaged so far in rain-related incidents in Madhya Pradesh. Meanwhile, in Maharashtra, at least 17 people have lost their lives in floods, with 4 each in Chandrapur and Nandarbar districts so far. Well, that's it on this edition of the Breakfast News. Have a good day.